Hey guys, it is Chad here at the Battle Warrior Podcast, and I'm telling all you guys go to all your podcast networks and go download the brand new episode today. All right, guys. Hey, welcome to the Battle Warrior Podcast. We have a phenomenal guest coming from a very, very beautiful location with warm weather, the beach, and everything. And hey, guys, welcome Mitch Haskins to the podcast. And at least I hope I pronounced your last name right. And
It's close enough.
all right, he is the creator of the Debug Life. He's coming on the podcast talking about his past experiences and then also using those experiences to help debug your brain going forward here. So, man, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I look forward to having a conversation with you.
It is absolutely amazing. And the thing that I was talking about prior to recording here is we're just going to have a conversation here. So, free spirited, free whatever it is, we're talking like we're almost like we're twins. And it's almost quite weird how like some of our behaviors are almost the same now, especially being on the post-trauma side of it.
Yeah.
So I want you to break down the simplistic side of it. Of we're going to go back to the original, but I want to show everyone at the end of how like simple we can make this to enjoy life. So what is your typical daily routine?
So I actually have a somewhat elaborate morning routine where most people are like, wow, that's a lot. But typically I try and wake up at 6 a.m. and then the first thing I do is jump into my cold plunge. So I set up like a chest freeze in the yard, filled it with water, kind of kitted it, and then set it like 47 degrees. So I sit about like 3 to 5 minutes in there. And it's like a double espresso shot, except with any of the side effects. So you just immediately you're awake. Like I hate going in, but then once you're out, you're awake. So it's pretty amazing to start your day. And then I really just launch into the rest of the morning routine, which is journaling and meditating and reading. Because the way it's just like the difference between making your bed or not making your bed in the morning. Like I make my bed, and that has an impact on the rest of your day. When you walk into the bedroom and you see that bed's all neat and tidy, it's a very different effect, psychological effect, versus like you walk in and it's a mess. Like it makes you feel like your life's a mess. So all these habits kind of just set you up for success throughout the day. And on the days that I don't do it, I notice a significant impact in like I just feel more disorganized and agitated and those sorts of things. So I kind of make sure to do that every single day. And then a really big part of it for me is getting some exercise in as well every day. There's, like I said, a beautiful area here, so there's plenty to do, like climbing, surfing, plenty of gyms, whatever you want to do. Like I can, it's doable here. And then I spend a lot of time reading and writing, as well as my main job is programming. So I spend a good bit of time doing that as well. And I would say every single day I also try to at least interact or see friends, because I notice on the days I don't have roommates, I live alone, I have dogs, but that's about it. So I make sure to see friends, because if I don't, I just kind of go to bed like, well, today was kind of pointless. So I would say that's usually my routine. I would imagine yours is pretty similar, or no?
Yeah, break it down on the week. Lately it's been kind of weird in the morning, especially coming back from a trip, but traditionally I call it 2 days, but 2 days is a little bit different versus the 2 days in the gym. I wake up and I usually jump right into yoga right away, and it's not like the fast pace 80s yoga dancing type video stuff. It's more of just stretching. So I call it DDP yoga, but anyone that's been in the wrestling industry understands who DDP is and all the yoga program that he has. And I pick more like the ab and the stretch work just because I know if I do some sort of intertwine, I get stretched out, I get a little bit of abs, and then I know I don't have to do them in the evening. And no matter what, like my body's up and moving and ready to go. Uh Typically I try not to grab my phone for like about a half hour to 45 minutes.
Nice.
Just because I notice it's you don't really understand how much addicted you are and have that rush right away of grabbing it until you're like forcing yourself not to touch it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, my alarm's off. All right, breathe, go do some yoga,
Yeah.
and just enjoy. And usually I'm up and moving in the Midwest here, like I said, about 4:30. Um, I'm on the road already at like 5:45, and I'm at my place already at 6:30, ready to roll. So work all day. Yes, I do punch the wall, guys, because I'm at a place I just went to, but it seems pointless at times. And I'm gonna do the cycle of it. What I love to do starts after 3:30. And guys, when you're building a business or you're building passionate about something, you get very fired up about doing that stuff. 3:30 starts, I start working out. And then I roll into my own time. And this is my own reserve time. So like podcasting, running my own business, marketing, flyer work, whatever I need to do. And I usually do that when I get back from the gym at about 5. So I'll mix in eating, whatever. And traditionally I'm up till about 10:30. And then I'll go wake back up at 4. I want to get about 6 hours of sleep.
Have you always done on 6 hours? Is that kind of your natural, like you feel good on that?
In the okay. Traditionally, no. Since I've been doing since I sobered up and did more mind work and more physical work. My sweet spot's about 5.5 to 6.5.
That's amazing.
What traditionally happens though is when I know I have a weekend off, and I know people will be like, dude, you gotta grind Saturday. You gotta grind Saturday. Saturday for me is a reset. And the reason why I'm going to say it that way is Sunday is all my meal prep, my game planted for the week, church, shopping, whatever it is to get ready for the week, to where I look at Saturday as more like my Sunday, and to where I don't sleep till 9, I don't get it, but like it's sleep to 6, work out twice, but still okay, get some family time in there. Big key thing, like I'm talking about, like go to the water and have a cigar.
That's amazing.
Go to hike, go whatever it is, just something just to kind of like drop your world and reset. So I back that
Connected.
Yeah, and get connected with I like I said, I'm a believer, but get connected with nature. Just get out there and enjoy life. And so yeah, I bucked that system a little bit where everyone says do that on Sunday. Traditionally I serve at times on Sunday, so like I'll flip into the work mode and then just go through that. So it's just a routine that works for me on a Saturday. But I'm usually up and moving. I'm just like yourself, man. I live alone. I do not have pets, but it's a good here we chat about everything we do, and everyone's like, oh my God, that's not simple. To us it's simple.
Well, I think you start off simple, right? Like we didn't start like waking up at 4 and being like, oh, I'm gonna do yoga, I'm gonna do this. Like I think you slowly add these habits over time. Like I didn't start meditating in the morning and adding all these, like I started meditating like 5 minutes in the evening, and then I'm like, oh, 10 minutes. And then I started doing the mornings. And then I was like, well, let me read a couple of pages. And then slowly, you add what works and you drop the things that don't. Like for some people, they might absolutely hate meditating in the morning, or they might hate doing yoga in the morning. Like I love doing yoga in the morning, but I think it's just kind of um like momentum builds with very small steps every day. So if you want to wake up at like 6 a.m. or 4 a.m., whatever, and you're waking up at 8 a.m. right now, then start waking up at 7:55, and then the day after that at 7:50. Like don't go crazy. Just do the tiniest step you can take. And these people that are saying like, oh, I'm doing all this awesome, they didn't just start like that. They built it up slowly. It takes a little step every single day.
And yeah, the 2 days for me is not something I did last year. It's just something, and the thing that I was gonna, we're both working towards is when we focus on how to keep our brain peace. I don't say peace. That's the only word that comes to my mind.
This is a
The
good word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the best way to just feel yourself in your mind and get yourself moving, get yourself loose and happy, and yeah, some days are gonna suck. I get it, but just in general, just the peace of being your own self.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, absolutely. Because like it's when you have to pretend to be something, or when you live in a certain environment where you don't feel like yourself, that's when you start really getting tired and wanting to escape, right? Like wanting to find like either, I don't know, you can do it through like there's addictions to everything. There's porn addictions. There's addictions to working too much. There's addictions to weed, alcohol, like all these different things. Like I think all those stem from not having enough fulfillment or the ability to express who you truly are as a person.
And I want to kind of circle back because we're at the completion part, and like I said, my brain's kind of the I wanted to show the final part of it,
Uh-huh.
but with both of us, and at least myself, I had addiction issues, but like, where did this all start, and where was that turning point? Because obviously we both had that day where we just said fuck it, flipped the switch, and kind of made our own program going forward.
Yeah, I think my biggest realization was when I was actually in the Midwest. I was in the Air Force for 4 years. And I, at the time, was an air traffic controller, and I was diagnosed with back issues. And because of that, I lost a certain status, a medical status that you need to be able to perform the flight duties. And so I couldn't do air traffic control anymore. And there was a lot of uncertainty. It was like, well, are you going to a different career field? Am I going to get discharged? Am I going to get sent to like the sixth or seventh different state that they've sent me so far? And there was just a lot of uncertainty. And at that time, I still had a lot of really unresolved anxiety and depression and trauma from like teenage years and from childhood. And at some point, I would almost call it kind of my spiritual awakening, where up until that point I was felt utterly alone. Like there was nobody there that would understand me, nobody there that could talk to me, or that I could talk to. Nobody could help me. I felt like I was the only one that could do that. And at that time, even I felt completely powerless. So me being the only person that can help me and feeling powerless, I would call that my rock bottom. And it was pretty bad in the sense that I didn't really take care of myself well. I didn't really cook for myself well. I didn't really do the basics like brush my teeth every day, or those sorts of things, or clean up the house, those sorts of things. And I think at some point I just realized that there's sort of this infinite amount of strength out there, like this spiritual strength, once you just accept that you don't really have control over a lot of things in life, and that the best you can do is live in the here and now and see who am I as a person, like discover who am I, what kind of things do I value, like what activities, what sort of conversations do I want to have, what sort of experiences do I want to have, what sort of people do I want to have around me. And then we're really working it to get those in the moment. And in that moment, I just realized that I didn't have control over anything else except for what I wanted to do in the present, who I wanted to interact with, and what sort of conversation I wanted to have. And I really started focusing on that. And it still took a few years, but that is kind of the point where the momentum started building, where I started drawing people towards me that wanted to see me succeed, instead of people that dragged me down and that wanted to see me fail, or people that made me feel bad about myself or used me in some way. And it was at that point that I started attracting the right people and started really setting myself on a path of just kind of listening to your inner wisdom. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, oh, this person expects me to do this person expects me to do that. Just really listening to my inner wisdom. And then a few years later, I really started looking back, and I'm like, wow, I've really come a long way. And that's when I started journaling, So now I get to read back what I, wrote about like a year or so ago, and I really get to see like, oh wow, like I can make it really far in a year if I just really focus on the things that matter to me and have the right people around me and have like this belief that the universe is looking out to me, and whether that is, God or Buddha or whoever, you label it, like really just trusting that there is this greater good out there, so long as you're just true to yourself. Like if you're going with the vain stuff, like wanting to drive the biggest car or having the nicest house or the biggest salary or showing off, or just all these things that society expects of us, then you're never going to be happy. That's what I discovered.
Yeah, and we were talking about, like I said, the word peace, and it sounds, to us it's simple because we know when the moments where we can bring it in and attract it in and kind of hold it and go from there. The number one thing, and you hit the nail on the head with, and I'm gonna use a Midwest term on that one, but like, you were the same way, I was the same way. When you finally said, screw it, I'm gonna go against this, I'm gonna go against the system, not fight the system, but like, I don't care, and I fight it all the time, but it's like people are like, why aren't you, I was married, but like, why don't you have kids? I don't, I love kids, I don't want them right now.
Right.
Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you buying a house? I don't want to deal with the bullshit of having a house, in a good way or bad way. And once you start just breaking free and kind of forging your own path, you start realizing that it's not a set path. It's the same thing like you're saying. It's just a little bit added here, a little bit added here, a little bit added here. And someone's like, how do you do that? I'm like, oh, it's very tough to put in the book, but we're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's so big. Because we're domesticated, like we're trained like dogs, like pets. We're born and we get rewarded for being a good boy or a bad girl, or we get punished for being a bad boy or bad girl. And so our whole brain is like, okay, if I behave this way, I receive love. If I behave that way, which I feel like is the right way because it's something that feels good to me, I get punished. So I have to put other people's wishes before my own because that's what I get rewarded for. And we carry that all the way into childhood or into adulthood, and it takes most people until their deathbed to realize that that's never going to bring you happiness. And some people go through experiences in life that are so heavy, or if you want to label it traumatizing, or something that just makes people look within, that we're, I don't know, lucky enough, if I can call it that, to kind of make that introspection at an earlier point in life. But I think most people don't realize that until they're on their deathbed. They realize, I've lived my whole life for someone else. And when you do make that realization, I'm sure you'll agree, of I want to live my own life, it's not getting any easier, because now you have to figure out and implement what you want. And that's when the real work starts. But at least you're not asleep anymore, right?
Yeah. The reason why I'm chuckling is I'm looking at all the dollars and cents that I invested into being a lot more riskier into myself. I'm gonna say riskier, guys. And me and you were talking about it. It's the masterminds. It's getting around the right people. It's the. I know our term is the mastermind. I repeated that, but it's getting into the crowds of the people that you want to be near and dear. And to be 100% honest, guys, it is a pay to play. You have to pay to play into that group. And you said it's not getting any easier, and I'm just laughing. I'm like, yeah, like my bills each month tell me it's not getting any easier. But once you realize, and I want to ask you about it, especially my end, the switch flipped, even though it was like addictions and kind of having the rock bottom, but there was also like a little drive of, I am not a non-arrogant way of saying, okay, hey, I have friends that are passing away, I have family that's passing away. You almost start owning it, saying, okay, I have to be the one to do this because life is too short. Mm-hmm. This is my shot.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of when you start realizing what other people could have done, but failed to do because of either not having the awareness or fear, right? Where, yeah, a lot of the things we're taught about, especially as men, like where our strength lies. A lot of times we're taught our strength lies in suffering and pain, and or suffering in silence, and not really, for example, talking about it or kind of solving our own problems. When the truth is that, yeah, sure, talking about things and not doing anything isn't going to solve it, but talking about things and relating to people, like through masterminds and through investing in those things and actually building community, that's like, that's like a 10x of your life, because now you have connections, you have resources, and that makes such an enormous difference. Like, I always compare it to, in my mind at least, like if you compare it to the caveman age, like, who would do better, like one caveman sitting somewhere alone, or like a whole group of cavemen working together, like one making a fire, one picking the berries, one hunting the ox. Like, we are humans, and our strength will always be in community and our diversity, and everybody brings something else to the table. And just, I loved it when you said investing in masterminds and stuff like that, because a lot of people will think like, oh, like this costs money. Like, well, but that's exactly why it costs money, because you want people that are willing to forego that emotional pain in order to get the benefit, that are willing to look into the future and say like, yeah, I might not get paid now, but years or months down the line, I'm going to get a return on this investment. And those are the people you want to work with, because those are the people that are reliable and that'll actually, they aren't takers, they're givers. They'll help you out when you need it.
And the most famous line, and I was explaining to him, I was at one last week, and the most famous line, and I'm not going to say who it is, and we'll keep it between me and him and I. He walked up in front of 35 people and said straight out, guys, yes, this is my second mastermind. I get it. He goes, the main reason why I did this, he goes, is I lost all kinds of money. I messed up many times. He goes, I did get 1 or 2 wins, but he's like, I want you guys to have that same opportunity and have us either teach you, or he's like, all of us come together and help each other out and just make it such a great community to where everyone's is open to help everyone and lift the community up.
Yeah, I love that. I love that mindset. It's just, I think another thing we're raised with and that we kind of carry into adulthood is like how schools teach you that there's a fixed size pie, like you get this grade, you get that grade, versus in adulthood, really. And we carry that in adulthood, where it's like, oh, if that person gets a higher salary at the same company, then I can't get more too, because they're getting more money. Versus in reality, it's really like, if we work together, we can grow the pie and everybody's share gets bigger. That's what you hear a lot of investors talk about. A lot of these people that go to these masterminds, they're not so focused on taking a big part of the pie, which I think really most of us, even myself, I have very strongly, I have that instinct, like, what do I get? But there's such a transformation of things that happen when you look at it at the side of, how can I grow the pie for everyone? Like, how can I make everyone's piece bigger? And that's, I think, really what it comes down to. What you said is, when you have those sorts of masterminds and those groups where everybody just wants to see each other succeed because it benefits everyone.
Yeah. And I'm not like eavesdropping. I don't care to do that. But like what I was talking about, I'm like, they come in, he's like, yeah, I was so-and-so, whatever. And I used to work at this place, not in a bad way of saying it. It's just, this is the history of it. And I'm looking, I'm like, are you serious? Some of these, especially, with a few of the big names out by your way that are out of like the LA area, just some of these, I call them God bombs, but like, you're in the moment, you're at that situation, you don't know what the hell hits you until that situation's done. And you're like, what just happened?
Yes. Yeah.
And then you realize that everyone's just human, just like everyone else. They'll walk up, say hello, how you doing? And once you realize that, and you could probably have friends say it the same way on your end of it, but like, once you realize you belong on that stage, but like not in a non-arrogant way, that
Yes.
that same person on stage is the same person in you.
Yes.
They're
I
just a
love
few
that.
more
Yeah.
years ahead of you.
They're absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I think we have all these beliefs about how we're, I don't know, undeserving or don't have something special about us, because we're just kind of taught to, fit in and not be special. But we were all put on this earth with a unique gift, and gifts aren't meant to be received, they're meant to be expressed. So I think, these people have just stepped into the role of I was put on this earth to do something because that's what, that voice in my head or my intuition or whatever it is, that's what I'm being guided towards. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I give the world. And they're not as concerned with the immediate returns of it. And I think that's why when they're a few years ahead and they're standing on stage like that, and it's a similar transformation that I've been through, it's going from that belief of what would people possibly believe about what I have to say, or like why would what I have to say possibly interesting to people, but then realizing like we all have these entirely different life experiences, and when you find like-minded people, there's so much you can contribute by sharing your experiences and saying like, this is what I've learned, this is the problems I've encountered, and this is how I've solved them. And people are willing, even right at some point in life, to pay for that, because that's what business is. It's paying money for a solution to a problem. And that's what those people at stage are doing. They have experience, they know the problem, they have a solution, and that's how they can monetize it. And they can share that with other people as well.
Well, here's a basic way of saying it. And I don't go to Starbucks, but ladies, you need a caffeine rush in the morning. You're very thirsty. You have a problem. You need caffeine. Starbucks has caffeine.
Exactly.
So the difference between the dude on stage or the girl on stage and Starbucks is pretty much the same thing.
It's all the same thing. It's everything. It's all the same thing. And that's the cool part too. I'm sure you've noticed that too in this industry. When I don't know if I would even call it I would call it the self-improvement industry, I guess. I feel like the self-help, it's such a negative connotation with it.
Generic term, yeah.
Yeah, but this whole industry, you will meet everyone and anyone. Like you'll meet every race, every gender, every religion, every orientation, everything. And that's what makes it so cool. It's really like and just realizing like everybody has something to contribute.
And I want to use this for example. There's some few out your way that we'll just keep names out, and not the one that wrote a book and going on a huge speaking tour right now. Not him. He's phenomenal, and he knows exactly what his beliefs are. But some of them, and I'm gonna dig deeper into it. Like, yes, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer. But the cool thing about some of these is they're like, hey, I'm not believing that, but I believe in the universe. So like spiritually and physically, they're still grounded in the belief of getting better. And I look at that, I'm like, everyone would be like, traditionally in the Midwest, you have something in that situation to be like, oh, you're a non-believer, you're bad. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, yo, like, he's one of the coolest brothers around. Mm-hmm. And he lights up the room when he walks into. And I'm like, I need to be like, not say I need to not copy him, but it's just a matter of go figure out what his gifts are.
Oh yeah. I love that. And I completely agree. I think the way I like to look at it too is I myself was raised Christian as well. And I like to say it like spirituality is a painting. And if you were to ask people to write a report on that painting, like what it looks like, what it feels like, all these different things, all those different papers would be the religions. They're all interpreting, to me anyway, the same thing. It's all describing the same thing. And I have noticed though, just like you brought up, that everybody that is chasing that awareness, that is chasing that, I want to get out of the either 9 to 5, or I want to find a little bit more in life. I want to challenge the status quo. What all of them have in common, I feel like, is that spiritual grounding for sure.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter which one it is. And I'm going to be 100% open, guys. And I don't give a shit what you guys think as listeners. But if someone is Buddhist and they have this spiritual sounding, cool, amazing. Join the show. Come on in,
Oh, yeah.
And I'll give you a hug and I'll develop a great friendship, whatever it is. It's just the community. A lot of this success is based on the community, and I'm gonna say it that way. Like, there's people I know that do speeches for a living, coolest cats around. Yeah. All they do is they do speeches, and they love it. And that's their gift. I know cats that have multi 100 / fitness places, whatever. Cool cat, different path in life, still made it. And then I know some amazing brothers and sisters that are doing breath work. Cool cats. And what's the theme I'm saying here, guys? It doesn't matter what you do, how you do it, where it is, what your foundation is. They all have a foundation and they're all getting to where they want to go.
Yeah, I really love that you say that, because to be entirely honest with you, I wasn't always like that. I think when I was younger, I was pretty judgmental. Like I have a very compassionate, loving mom, and I remember a lot of times when I was younger, she would instill things in me like diversity is what gives society strength, and don't think in black and or gray and black and white. Don't think so binary. She's like, there's a spectrum of everything. Like, and it took me many years, decades, to realize that all those judgments I was making really came from fear and insecurity. They came from me not feeling good enough about myself. And once I started once I really stopped looking at other people as, I don't know, like, weird, or, some sort of other judgment, I think that's really when I learned to almost love myself unconditionally. Um, because it's like you said, like that person on the stage, that's you. Like everybody around you is you. You just got to be able to relate to them. And letting go of those judgments um is, I think, yeah, a really big part in that peace in the mind.
And I want to ask you this as a final question because I know I'm gonna let you plug your stuff at the end, man. You can brag about anything you want to brag at the end. But I know on your website you have a special picture that both of us talked about before recording. How
Uh-huh.
much did going in the mountains reset you?
Fully. It's something I can't explain it. To me, nature, especially, I have to say nature in the sense of mountains and water, are these complete resets. Like if I jump in the ocean or a lake, or I have these giant mountains around me in, for example, Denver, or even here in California, there's plenty. It's just puts you in awe, and it makes you realize I'm just a tiny little puny human on this billions of year old planet. And then you start realizing that everything around us is this beautiful manifestation of God, of the universe. And we're all, whether it's evolution or whatever you believe in, we're all the product of creation of this beautiful masterpiece of art, right? And then this sense of awe that it draws out in me, it makes me feel tiny, and it makes my problem seem tiny. And that's what that reset is about to me. Like I may go out there like, oh, I'm not pulling in the amount of money I want, or I feel like I don't get to see friends enough, or I feel like I have to work too much, all these different things that I don't feel good about. And then you get out there and you're like, the hell does all that matter? Like, look at all of this, and then, so to answer your question, it completely resets me. Yes.
Uh, I had the same situation, and the thing that it exactly occurred to you exactly how it occurred to me, and especially in the town you used to live in. Coming from the Midwest or even out in like your area, like the LAs and stuff, everyone wants a big house, the shiny shit, and the biggest cars and whatever. And I'm not going to sit there and go, but like driving into the mountains, what I learned is everyone has a Toyota Tacoma, a Subaru, 4Runner,
Yes.
whatever. Like I'm just going through like the three
It's
or four
true.
key ones, and or Jeep or whatever it is. And the thing I'm looking at is I'm like, these cats are making as much as they want to make.
Mhm.
And what they have is they have a vehicle with a bike and a kayak and a tent or whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
And they're the happiest they can be.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, none of that big shiny shit matters.
No phone, no service, no 50, 60-inch TV. Just absolutely just the basics. Yeah. I agree. I always have similar experiences where it's like we don't need much to be happy as human beings. We just need to be safe. We need shelter. We need some people around us. And we need to have some sort of inspiration. There's no other inspiration than, you know, riding your bike or climbing a mountain or hiking or, you know, fishing or kayaking. Like that's, you know, any listeners, that's the biggest thing I would encourage people is find some way to just completely let go of all that digital world. You know, we're connected. We don't have a choice. We have to do it for our jobs. But, you know, sometimes we can leave our phones at home and just go get out in nature and just stop caring about all the stuff that in the end, by the time we die, doesn't matter.
I mean, yes, I like, just like everyone, we like money and interchange, and we're not running for it. But to me, peace, and the same thing with you.
Yeah.
There's a more dollar value in peace than there is in the total dollar value what's in your account.
That's one of the wisest things I've heard. And I agree. It's too, when you have that peace, I feel like you all of a sudden start attracting all sorts of things, right? Where instead of running and chasing after stuff, things just become clearer. Like it's like this mental fog that clears away, just like when you surrender or when you release fear, and all of a sudden the path that you got to take just becomes super clear. It's the same with this. Like you just get this clarity, and then it's not like you're going to live in abundance. Like you can attract all that wealth and the nice things you want in life. You absolutely can. But if that's all you're going for, then you're going to be in for a little bit of a rougher time, I think, from my experience.
Yeah, and that's what I'm noticing. And I'm not going to get too in depth of what I live in, but it's a studio and it's about 500 square feet, and I'm perfectly happy being in it. And
that's it. I mean, I lived on the road for like 2 months, and I just have my car, my dogs. All I did was like stay in the cheapest motels I could find, like Motel 6. I'm pretty sure there's more comfortable prison cells. And I would like go to a Starbucks, work a couple hours in the morning, hike the rest of the day, eat good food, talk to good people. The happiest I've ever been in life, you know?
yeah, yeah. So let's use this as the last couple minutes here, man. I give you 100% clearance to start bragging about anything you want to brag right now. So just tell all my listeners where they can find you and all the cool things you got coming down the pipeline.
Sweet. Yeah. So, you know, the main thing I do is blogging. Talking about things like this is why it's such an awesome conversation, because this is mostly the things I blog about, like, you know, things in regards to mental health or how technology and social media affect us. All of that can be found on my website, which is thedebuglife.com. And then also you can find me on Instagram. My handle there is thedebuglife. I post a lot of stuff there about like my morning routine, the habits I do, the activities I do, like climbing, and give people a lot of ideas. And I have 2 huskies, so they're just crazy dogs that make for a lot of funny material. So that as well. Other than that, you know, you can subscribe for my news list on my website. I've got a book coming down the pipeline. They'll probably take another year, maybe 2 years. Yeah, that's mainly what I'm doing right now.
And on the book thing, man, we can get that out and running before even 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months.
Yeah, no, I'm actually I'm an established author, so I've been through it a few times, and I'm not asking for fees or any of that, but I'm just saying that we can make that fast if you need to. I know the people to help you.
Oh, okay, sweet. I appreciate it. I'll have to take you up on that. That sounds a lot better than like 2 years.
Oh yeah, no, I would have. Okay, let me plug this quick. I'll edit that other first part out here. But hey, thank you for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it, and glad to have you back.
Thanks for the great conversation. I had a blast.
All right.